What happens if you have Mars in the 7th house? Well, let's go straight into it. You know, 7th house is relationships. We all know that. And Mars, the planet of argument and strife in relationships, there, it means those people who have a fair share of confrontation in their lifetime. It's just they're attracted and they create it or attracted. They're here to experience it. Confrontation that comes to them through others. And they shouldn't blame others for that. As I said, it's their own vibration. It's their own chart. So they extract this kind of quite strong reaction from others, and they trigger it. They also can react quite strongly to others as well, excitably and passionately, but also at cases because the high octave of Mars is passion, excitement, enthusiasm towards others, but the extreme expression of Mars is anger and provoking anger from others, and also feeling anger towards others, creating confrontation, those sparks flying off between you and another person, or between you and others overall. But having even said that, despite of the fair share of confrontation that they meet in life, they tend to be the ones that win over, because they have this push, unless the other person that they're confronting with also has Mars in the 7th house, or Mars strongly affecting the 7th house, or Mars in the 1st house as well, which can also make them quite strong. But usually they tend to be the one that would win in a fight and a battle. And by the way, the 7th house is known and Mars in the 7th house is known as someone who would lead wars. By the way, the horoscope of the United States has Mars in the 7th house from the ascendant, and the United States is known for going into wars and for starting, kind of quite a few wars. But usually they tend to be the ones that can win also in those wars, But it's still advisable to avoid, and 7th house rules court cases, so they can be more likely than others to go into court cases, to sue others, to be sued. But it's still advisable to try to avoid those things, to avoid the negative manifestation of Mars, and instead to use it to fight for others, to use it for a positive way, rather than to use it to fight with others, which can create those kind of court cases and things, which I advise avoid them, because it will create a lot of stress for you. Whatever Mars is in the 7th house of court cases and wars, avoid it, because it's gonna be stressful. Okay, you're good, you're prepared for that battle, but still it's extra aggravation, and you have more of a chance to win, but still stay away if possible. But it's better to use this Mars to fight for others, for causes, for others, for example, to be a lawyer, to be an attorney of some sort. This is great career, because Mars is the 7th house is the battlefield confrontation with Mars there. You can win in the name of others. They can be really kind of aggressive deal makers and bargainers, because 7th house is where we deal and will and bargain and make agreements and craft contracts and agreements. So they can be amazing at, say, criminal lawyer to craft a deal for their client, for example. I've written some notes here, but also to be like attorneys, lawyers, legal advisors. They're very proactive, or advisors on conflict. They're really good at how to solve conflict, to go in to confront it, not to be afraid, and they're not afraid to confront others. I know a few people that have Mars in the 7th sign from the ascendant. My God, they would confront you. I would never do that. Like, I'm strong Aries, but I never confront people, and people never think I'm Aries because of that. But people with Mars in the 7th house, I've seen it over and over, unless it's blocked by some planet like Saturn or something, or it's combust or burned. These people would just go there and confront the person, make some of the best lawyers, as I said, to fight for others. And it's best actually to use Mars in your career, because if you don't use it in your career in regards to that house, you will channel it through personal relationships, or no matter what house Mars is in. It's best to use it somehow through your career. Otherwise, it will manifest in your personal life, and the 7th house rules your marriage, your business relationships with others. 7th house also rules most importantly, your marriage partner and spouse and committed relationships. So if you don't use it in business, you might have a very conflictual relationships, or you can have more arguments with the partners. You know, they can, they can have like basically, you need to give this fighting instinct an outlet, which is more socially acceptable, which is through career, basically, whether you'll be a lawyer or business person. That's one of the best positions for business persons, because what do business persons do? They craft deals and agreements, and they're very aggressive in deals and agreements. They would often always get what they want when it comes to business deals, because Mars is so driven, so ambitious, is not afraid to confront and to step on others to get what it wants. So they're amazing business people, and this will take off the pressure from marriage if they use their Mars, for example, in their career, like attorneys, like conflict managers, maybe to organize and lead others in some sort, or maybe to do business deals and craft agreements and contracts as well of some sort, aggressively, proactively, to travel a lot for business. Mars in the 7th house can give also traveling a lot for business, and to create those business deals, to kind of to have more opportunities, to give outlet to this Mars, to have opportunities to negotiate new partners, for example, new partnership business deals. So that's how you take off the pressure from your marriage, through the career, or through being involved in some kind of counseling, advising, which is 7th house, for conflict or for problems as well. That's another Mars in the 7th house career. And by the way, some of the best business people that I know have Mars in the 7th house. I'll just give you a few names. I don't know them personally. I know a few of my clients personally, but I'll give you a few people that you might know. Rockefeller, JP Morgan, Murdoch, 3 of the biggest millionaires or billionaires, they have Mars in the 7th house. Obviously, they're very good business dealers, and they're very aggressive when it comes to business. 7th house rules the business, the exchange, the trade between two people. You see how it plays out, and they also can be people that go to war. William the Conqueror has Mars in the 7th house. William the Conqueror, what did he do? He conquered, he won wars. Also they need, when it comes to their relationships, they need some space, but their partners also need some space. And Mars in the 7th will describe what their partners are like. And actually, this creates something that's called Kuja Dosha in Vedic astrology. When Mars is in the 7th, or aspects the 7th, when Mars is in the 4th, is also Kuja Dosha, or Mars in the 12th or the 7th, or the 1st. The 1st is the least, but the 7th, because it means in Vedic astrology, they say the person will get divorced or the spouse will die. Not true. This is exaggerated, not true at all. What it means, it creates more arguments and more stress through relationships, business or personal, but especially through marriage. And that's why many Indian clients come to me and they say, I have Mars in the 7th house, will my spouse die, or I'll never be happy, and I always argue in relationships. Not true. Not true. First of all, the advice for such people is to get married after the maturation age of Mars, which is the age of 27. You know, the age of 27, Mars matures from 27 to 28. How many people have joined this club, the 27 club, that can die around the age of 27? Because Mars is one of those planets, basically, that if it's not well placed in your horoscope, can create accidents in your lifetime. And usually when a planet matures, it gives its effects very strongly, whether for good or bad. But anyway, when Mars matures from the 27th, after the 28th year, then get married. Relationships before that can be much more full of conflict, because once a planet matures, you have more control over it. You've run somehow. You've been able to see the full scope of experiences of that planet, so you know what the repercussions are usually, so you can be a bit more wiser with that planet. So for Mars is after the age of 28, but when you turn 28, basically when you finish the 27th year. So get married a bit later. Don't rush. Your early life relationship can be much more full of conflict. Another way is give more space to each other in a marriage, in the partnership. Have different bedrooms, for example, or travel for business, or your partner traveling for business, to give each other more space, because Mars is this independent planet that needs space to swing a tiger or whatever it wants to do. And this is how you can resolve. Otherwise, if you're on top of each other, on each other's heads, I've noticed that it can create much more conflict. My ex-husband had Mars in the 7th house, and he was traveling a lot, and that's why we were sweet with each other. And he was a contract maker, and he was basically the best bargainer I've ever seen. Mars in the 7th house, they bargained, but I would get embarrassed because he would get so vicious at bargaining, and Saturday mornings would be spent with him arguing and fighting with people on the phone and getting great bargains. For example, he would not be happy with some service, he would call and he would get us free service for a month from them. And I was like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, I'm ashamed to do that. And he's like, I have no shame, to approach others and to ask what is mine and to make deals with them. And you'd always negotiate things down. I mean, usually people with Mars in the 7th house are quite good at that, to do deals, to bargain with others. That's why they're good business people, and that's why they're great at careers where they either have to do contracts, to to conflict management and all those things that I mentioned, or even to be lawyers of some sort of business people, cutthroat business people, competitive business people as well. Or also they often encounter such competitive people in their life to do business with themselves. So what happens, you attract the people that you're very much like. And I said, like, I never attract such cutthroat business people, but I've seen people with Mars in the 7th house, they would attract such people in their life because they're like that. And if they're not owning their Mars, they would see it through others, and they would consider the environment always to be very competitive, especially in regards to relationships, in regards to business, in regards to personal and business relationships. And the universe reflects that reality back to them. That's, what you believe, what you have inside you as a vibration, you attract back. Well, I never attract such competitive people, so much in my daily environment. But anyway, it's interesting to see the dynamics of Mars in the 7th house person, how they are, driven to succeed in such areas of life. And also Mars in the 7th house will describe the kind of partner you attract. As I said, 7th house is often, if we don't manifest it, it comes to us through our partner. So you can attract marriage partners that have strong areas in them. Say they might have Sun or Moon in Aries, like I have 4 planets in Aries. My partner had Mars in the ex-partner in the 7th house, so he attracted an Aries. Or you can attract someone whose character is very Mars-like, someone who is competitive, someone who is physically athletic. And when you're choosing a partner, when Mars in the 7th house chooses a partner, they choose them for the physical appearance. They're very visually stimulated, physically stimulated by the physical body, by the physical appearance of the other, because Mars rules the bones, the structure, the body, the physicality, the blood and bones of something, the physicality of something. So Mars in the 7th house, people are attracted by the physical side of others. They attract the body. A huge reason for attraction towards the partner is the physical body, and often they attract they are strongly sexual themselves, because this is your house. You might project it sometimes to attract strongly sexual partners, sexualized, but because you have this vibration in you, and this person has to awaken it in you. And if you're in a relationship where there is no passion, I don't think you're going to keep this relationship for a long time. And if people with Mars in the 7th house start feeling like the sex is dying out, they have to find a way to revive it, to revive the physicality together. Even if it's not necessarily through physical way, you can revive it by being physically active together, by doing exercises together, by going on treks, and that will revive the relationship, because Mars requires Mars energy in relationship. If you don't give it to your relationship in a healthy way, for example, through physical exercise together, that you work out, that you do treks, that you travel together a lot, because Mars rules movement, traveling, excitability, doing exciting things together, taking on challenges together, working on some business project together to win something, to conquer something, to get some, because Mars is competitive, cutthroat driven, the law of the jungle, the strongest, wins. So that's very business oriented. Maybe you can have like a project together to succeed with your partner in business, or maybe you can have lots of sex, but that's some way to manifest it in a healthy way. Otherwise, then Mars starts manifesting in a negative way by it can bring arguments in the relationships, restlessness in the relationships. It can come to you through the partner, or you might feel it when you have Mars in the 7th house. If you are not giving and feeding that relationship Mars things, the excitability, the changeability, the adventures, the some challenge together you have to overcome. This will make you stronger in your relationship together. While other people, after arguments, might feel very sore towards each other, you can feel much more closer, and you can deal with problems in relationship by going to bed and being intimate, or by going and working out, or by after a big fight you can feel much more bonded together as well with Mars in the 7th house. But if the other person is not as fiery as you are, sooner or later they might feel like pushed by the corner, because Mars in the 7th house person creates Kuja dosha, which means that they're quite aggressive when approaching others, so quite dominant in relationships. So the other might feel pushed at the corner sometimes by your partner. So, and if your partner themselves are not so dominant, sooner or later they might just feel almost like overwhelmed by your power and assertiveness and dominance and leadership. This is how it happened for me. I think Tom Cruise and Katie, what was her name, Katie something, he had this Kuja dosha, Mars in the 7th, or Mars aspect in the 7th, while she didn't have it. So one of the big reasons, I believe, is that he was imposing too many things on her, being too dominant in the relationship, so she must have felt overwhelmed, and then they just partner can retreat. Usually it's best to also find yourself someone who is dominant in a relationship, so your dominance doesn't faze them, so they're not too sensitive about it. And often it's best to find someone who answers those Mars qualities, that they're themselves assertive, that they're driven, that they're very competitive, that they're very either physically active or business active, because you have to use this Mars somewhere. And it's best that your partner has those qualities. If they don't, they might feel overwhelmed a little bit by you. And also, what kind of partners? They might be more aggressive, business person, Aries, competitive, sexual. They put high value on physical contact. You as well put high value on physical contact, and your partner should put high value on physical contact. Initiative. They can be self-starters, just like ex-husband marries me, and I was Mars, self-starter. But another way also is that Mars, the planet of action, is in your 7th house, which can mean that you get activated. Your driving engine, which is Mars, that drives the machine, gets triggered by others. How can it play? Well, someone can come and insult you, Mars, cut you with a biting word, and this can be motivating force to drive you to change something, to lose weight, or to do some action. Mars is the planet of action, so from others they can be the motivating force that triggers you into action. That's the negative way. Someone tells you, oh, you'll never be successful, or they tease you at school, and you're like, oh, I'll show you, and this becomes others trigger action in you. This is the negative way it can play out, but there is a positive way. You meet a partner, the partner motivates you, and the partner tells you, starts pushing you and saying, you succeed and you make it, and you succeed and you make it, or you collaborate in partnerships. Often if you get like feedback from others, this will trigger much more your competitiveness, much more your drive and ambition and desire for action. And if you're doing it together with another person, it will trigger your desire for action. So business partnership, despite they might be full of conflict, or marriage partnerships can be your driving force for success, can really push you towards making changes, for example. And I've noticed when I had Mars transiting my 7th house, is that I would go into a fight with someone, I would get upset, but out of this fight a brilliant new drive for action will come that will make me make some changes in my business or whatever. So this can play possibly constantly in your life. And Mars from the 7th house also aspects the 10th house, so that's why these people are often very driven in their career. And it aspects the 2nd house with a special, according to Vedic astrology, Mars has a 6 sign aspect towards the 2nd house here. And it aspects it 6 back and 4 forward. So just wanted to show why this is considered a very driven aspect for success in business and for making money, because Mars makes you ambitious 2nd house to make money, to accumulate money, and aspecting the 10th house to have leadership positions, to run businesses, and 7th house to make deals and brokerships and negotiate, and what more is required for business success, Okay, and also Mars rules male people. So people with Mars in the 7th house, unless there is another planet like Venus or Moon, female planet there, will predominantly have relationships with men or with male figures. I'm not saying you're gonna be gay or anything like that. I'm saying that maybe your business life, your work environment will put you in situations where you're mostly dealing with male figures, male friends, male people, like on a daily basis. If you have a female planet there as well, there'll be an equal number. But if you just have Mars there and no female planet, definitely you'll notice that. Okay, so relationship to competitive, physical in nature, vigorous, energized, combative, full of excitement people, but also arguments. We spoke about that. Relationships are the driving engine to mobilize the person in energy, to make him move, take action. That's why if you want to start working out and you don't have the motivation and you have Mars in the 7th house, go and start working out with your partner. Find a working out buddy that can motivate you. Find a instructor, someone, you know, because it's not self-motivated position, but through others. And sometimes others are better motivators than us anyway. If your Mars was in the 1st house, you'd be self-motivated, you know. But go find someone, work out with your partner, again, to bring this Mars energy into the relationship. Or if you have no desire to do anything, go to a enthusiastic coach, someone that can excite you to do something. Share your ideas or share your lack of any motivation with another who is very enthusiastic, someone with strong Mars energy, someone with strong Aries energy, someone full of excitability for life. Go and speak to such a person. They would infuse this sense of excitement towards you. If you've lost your direction in life, if you're not motivated to do things, find yourself a strong Mars person or a strong motivating coach who will push you in that direction, or who would even irritate you and tell you a few things that piss you off, so this can drive you and make you find your motivation. Okay, we said there is restlessness in marriage, and we gave a few advices how you can overcome that. This also makes you forceful in pursuing partners, whether business partners or relationship partners. I had someone approach me with Mars in the 7th house and with very strong business sense, very driven to make money and to make work. And it did work for quite a while. It's like it was such a driving force. These people are motivated for such things, and to pursue partners, and also they would attract others in relationships who would pursue them as well. Okay, so they are aggressive deal makers, bargainers, forceful in crafting relationships. Okay, I think we mentioned almost everything. Just wanted to mention that if you happen to have your ascendant in Scorpio or in Virgo, so if the 1st house is Scorpio or Virgo, this position can create a lot of problems there. It can lead to a divorce, for example, because then for Scorpio ascendant, Mars is in Taurus, and Mars rules Aries, here the 6th house. And when the Lord of the 6th house is in the 7th sign from ascendant, 6th house is dissolution of marriages or agreements and contract and arguments. 6th house rules arguments, and it can create a lot of arguments in relationships, and it can lead to broken promises. Or, that's if you have your Virgo or Scorpio, yeah. And if you have Virgo ascendant, then Mars rules Aries here, which is the 8th house. And the Lord of the 8th house falls in the 7th sign. Both the 6th and the 8th house are considered difficult houses. And when the Lord of that house falls into your relationships, in the 8th house is sudden breakups again. It can be sudden, out of the blue developments in your marriage, in your relationships that really totally take you by surprise, like can be considered either catastrophic or can be considered unexpected. And definitely this happened, in my life. There is a personal example as well, so that's a little bit more problematic. They have to be a bit more careful. It can be an indication for more than one marriage or arguments and more how do I say, argumentativeness and competitiveness and troublesome through business partners, through relationships for Virgo and Scorpio ascendant people that have Mars in the 7th house, in the 7th sign from the ascendant. Okay, so yeah, I think I mentioned everything. They can be highly sexual as well. Kennedy had Mars in the 7th house, so you know they'll pursue aggressively partners. I'm sure that's what Kennedy did. Who else has it? Tom Hanks. You can be a very likable person. Tom Hanks has Mars in the 7th house. But what I read about him struck me, because I was like, Tom Hanks, such a likable guy, and I'm like, they can be extremely likable, but his closest friends say, oh, he knows how to stand his ground. If someone challenges him, he'll win the battle. He becomes very strong. Don't think that he's a softie, because his characters, you know, usually played by like a sweet guy, but they say in his personal life, he knows how to stand his ground. And I'll end up this video on this, you know, these people know how to stand up their ground and how to, you know, win in confrontation, so to speak, how to win battles, like William the Conqueror. So thank you so much, guys. And Pablo Escobar also has it. I'll see you for about Mars in the 8th house.